G'day guys, and welcome to a preview of both meetings Saturday. So it's Rosehill and Caulfield, and it's a lot of races to cover, so I'll get through it as quick as I can. Rosehill 5 metre rail on Saturday looks like it's going to be something like a good 4 or a soft 5. There's a few showers predicted here or there. I don't think it'll make too much difference. The 5 or 6 metre positions usually are pretty good for those on pace on fence. Definitely, if you know, sort of leader behind, leader 3 back to fence, getting off 1 and 2 in the straights, a good position, 1 out, 1 back, somewhere there. So we're aiming to find those sort of horses and give them a good push. Those back and wide are going to struggle a little bit, I'd say. It's not ideal to be turning wide and coming wide. You can sort of seem to make ground up the inside and come off, and that's a bit of a pattern for Rosehill anyway, especially when that rails out. So looking to be leaning to those sort of horses. First race of the day is a 2,000 metre race, and I'm going to get through these first couple pretty quickly because it's pretty ugly. Antonio Giuseppe comes up a pretty short price favourite. I can't find it at those sort of prices. I thought it was very lucky to win last start, and sort of coming up around the 5 to 2 chance here, losing the senior jockey. Kobe Jennings takes over 11 gate, 61 kilos. A few horses that can improve. 4 Carat, second up, obviously ran well first up. I'm not that excited about it. Divine Style looks to get the right run. More to Gain's definitely a horse right on the up. Huge run the other day. Should have bolted in at Wyong in a much easier race, but he's suited up in trip and lots of scope to improve. I think he's a pretty good horse. A little bit of rain will suit him. Salt House can improve up in distance. And then you've got My Giuliano and Oso Splendida further down, which I'm not too excited by either of them, but they've got winning chances. I think it's quite an open race. If I had to be tied down to one, even Mandalong Kiss can win. If I had to be tied down to one, it'd be More to Gain, but he's sort of going to get backing on the inside and have a bit of a tough run, but around the $8 or $9 chance I think he is at the moment. He's probably the way I'd go. Salt House maybe around the $12 mark's worth, the small play as well, but it's not a race I'm looking to get too excited about. I'm betting around Antonio Giuseppe and looking for a bit of value if I'm going to play. Race 2 is the Queen's Cup, 2,400 metres, and again, a funky little race. You've got Janoob coming from the Newcastle Cup, where I thought he ran pretty well. It's kind of tough to find him these days. It's a long time since he's won, sort of 21st of November 2015, since he's won a race. But this is a race that kind of does look like it suits him, and I'll say why in a minute. So he's back in the
center stages as they race up to the top end with sense of occasion coming wide from Olympic Academy.
Doesn't ever really look to be doing anything, which is the biggest worry.
Dowdstead Charlie given full ball, that slow pace
in the blinkers.
is starting to come
He doesn't really look to be doing a lot at any stage, but they have gone steady and got home pretty quick here. And even though he's got a bit of class on him, his sort of staying ability comes through this last 50 or 100 where he gets past. The chasing pack and looks to be really closing. So he does look like he's looking for 2,400 metres. He wasn't suited ideally in that race, and probably if Sacred Master was in this race, I'd be keen on him. So Janoob looks interesting. Allegria, I'm not sure about. Allergic. I'm not sure about him in a strong 2,400. He's not been tested at that distance yet since he was a 3-year-old, and he really does look like an 1,800, 2,000 metre specialist. Allegria's now third up off a Wyong Cup run where she was second up and not suited, and now goes third up 2,400. She's probably the pick of the 2 Godolphin horses for mine, but it's tough to chime into her. And then you've got Chiquinta, who was going to the breeding barn 3 runs ago before she strung 3 really solid wins together. And then you're looking at like another Snappy's come out and won midweek. I'm Trouble, Halfway to Heaven, Lavenza's. It's very hard to sort of chime into her up to black type grade over this distance. So Janoob with a gun to my head, having a sandwich if not in this race. Race 3 and the Highway. Pretty keen on one horse here. If I had to have a stab in the dark, well, no, it's not a stab in the dark, because it has got good form and it's a pretty progressive horse, is Shotgun Roulette. 10 starts, 2 wins, but really you can put a line through most of its form. Here is a 3-year-old filly where she was stepped up in grade, and she ran quite well on a couple of occasions, but that form's pretty forgivable. And you look at the 2 runs this time in, she's been totally unsuited both times. I'll go back here. She's back in the middle with the stripe. She's got a 4-kilo girl on her who's only ridden maybe 2 or 3 winners from a bunch of rides. So basically it's a sit and steer effort on this horse, and you can see coming through here, 4 from the outside, that she travels strongly into the races and gets through the line without any pressure at all, basically. And it's hard to run on that day. This was last start, where she's back 5th last year on the outside. Similar position, struggles to find a run, forces herself into a gap. No sign of the whip or any sort of pressure on the horse. She runs on basically under her own steam, beaten narrowly. So 1500 looks no problem. And a senior jockey going on is a huge advantage. Draws nicely, shouldn't get too far back from that position up in distance, and she looks really well placed here. Blinkers do come off, winkers applied, which is a weird one, but nothing much in that. I thought maybe the dangers were distinctive look. Does lose senior rider for Kobe and a wide gate, which makes the job pretty difficult. Destined to win, draws disgracefully, but has got some decent mile form, doesn't win out of turn. And Cool in Black, who does look like it's the one on the up, but has got simply heavy track form and very hard to line it up, and goes up in trip as well. So tough to line you up. Bella Long Chick was probably the only other one, and again, draws wide, gets back, nothing in its favour. So really think that it's Shotgun Roulette or nothing. Happy to play it at around the $6 or $7 mark, I believe it is early, which seems extremely good odds, and I'd be very surprised if it didn't start around the $3, $54 mark come Saturday. Race 4, the Reginald Allen, and I believe that our Belize is already out, and look, Legless Verve is out as well. So interesting to see here that Ferrari looks like it's going to get the front, and pretty comfortably. I did like her effort. First up Canterbury, it did take quite a long time for her to get across. She's not dynamic out of the gates, but does have a high cruising speed once she hits the ground. They've gone out pretty hard here, and for her to win over 1200 first up when she'd only previously won over 1100, having to work, is a really good sign for her preparation for mine. I don't think 1400 is going to be any issue. She'll relax in front, hopefully, or she'll run along at her own tempo. And here's Rosa Carolina here, who had a run and probably was a little bit better suited fitness-wise. Had a decent run, had the camp on her. Had a chance to get past her and didn't, and it's good to see Ferrari showing a lot of fight there. She's not weakening on the line, she's fighting them off. Really good sign. Pecans ran into third there, down the outside. She was first up as well, so she's open to improvement, but she's got an inside gate of a worrying couple of queries against with the jockey and where she's going to get to in the run. So I'm keen that Ferrari is going to run well. I think Rosa Carolina will cruise across and probably sit in a similar position, and 1400 doesn't look an issue for her. The other runner I'm interested in a lot is this Zenalicious. I thought she hit the line really well. 2 starts back. Cross Stitch has not come out and franked that form ideally, but it did win on protest, but not ultra impressively. Zenalicious is in here. There's a bumping duel on the turn. Having some issues with the video.
And we're all locked and loaded now. The 3-year-old fillies are about to run.
But what I really like about her, and the reason I'm hell-bent on showing this replay, is what she does when she's buffeted, balances up. She's only had 4 starts in her life. She's really improving. She's gone 12, 12, 14, so she's strong for the 1400 here. She's shown a bit more pace here, which was important for this race because I think she's going to have to gamble a little bit and try and take up a bit of a position if she wants to be beating these level of fillies. I'm about to give up. I'll try something else here because they are a step up from what she has been racing against. But in saying that, she definitely looks a horse on the up.
0.85.
Most interested in the last 400
a bit
here.
stiff in third. Racing on the fence,
so
600
we'll get
metres
to
to
the
the
turn.
outside. Savann's under plenty of pressure. Pirapala, Shin's looking for the gaps. He's looking to come off
Zenalicious is the
heels.
one.
Sparkle races to the
Here.
lead. Oh, Pirapala got put in a pocket by Zenalicious.
She's
And
bumped,
Cross
buffeted, knocked,
is coming
checked,
down the outside.
loses
It brushed with
momentum,
Zenalicious. There's plenty
but
happening.
digs in.
Zenalicious and Cross.
And for mine, the second horse was never going to beat her. Didn't matter what happened. She pricked her ears on the line.
Zenalicious beat
That was a good win. So she's the strong one for mine. She looks underrated still. I think she's around the $15 mark. She's going to need a bit of luck from a wide gate. I wish she had have drawn a bit more favourably, but I think she's right in it. Smart Amelia looks a bit short for mine. I didn't really think she hit the line super first up, and she's had a few weeks off. Invincibilla's open to improvement, ran quite well. Overstep's going to be in the right spot. The rest of them are all thereabouts, but I think the horses that have got the qualities to win, Ferrari, Rosa Carolina is going to be right there, and Zenalicious, if she just has a little bit of luck, maybe follows Rosa Carolina across and slots in. She's right in the race, and they're all good value, sort of 10, $7 and $15 currently. Race 5, the Stand Fox, and we've got Impending and Divine Prophet. Must show this replay because they both come out of the same race. So Impending's 3 back the fence, Divine Prophet's in the middle, back second last. They do look the key to this race, being quite short in the market. The other horse that is short in the market's Good Standing. But Impending basically has its chance. A little bit balked, whereas Divine Prophet's held up back against the slowish tempo and doesn't really hit his straps until the last sort of 50 or 100. Impending's held up a little bit here, but these conditions suited him much more, I would have thought. And Divine Prophet just fails to beat him. Was definitely going to get him in another couple of strides. I see the blinkers going on Impending. I'm not sure. Obviously that'll help him hold a position. He's drawn the widest. I assume they go forward. He'll probably end up sitting outside Thronham. That may not be a bad spot to be. Good Standing third defence. Divine Prophet probably back last. I'm not in love with the jockey change on Divine Prophet. It's a bit of a shame, but he looks a sort of a horse that you're just going to have to sit last call widest and try and run them down. And I think he's more than capable of doing it up to the 1500. Just don't want to wait too long. If he pushes the button early enough, I think he'll round him up. And I think he's clearly the best horse in the race, Divine Prophet. I'm not sold that Impending's absolutely flying or looking for 1500 metres. So Good Standing may be the danger if there is one, but Divine Prophet looks very well placed. A Gloaming Stakes and a messy race pace-wise. It looks like Coonawarra wants to lead. It looks like he'll get the lead, and then you've got a bunch of horses looking for a position up there. I would imagine you've got sort of Swear drawn wide, High Mist kicking up somewhere there near the rails. Belladero similar, wants probably a midfield position. Oculist is definitely looking to roll forward, and inside Swear, that may help him. If he gets there first, he might get the cover from Swear. Honeywine's going to kick up from an inside position, and Lascetti Spirit's probably the one that can cause the dramas because he's going to kick up inside Oculist and Swear, and it looks like there's going to be a line of those 4 sort of heading for those positions. And I wouldn't be surprised 1800 metres if they all find a spot here. It's only a field of 10. It doesn't look too scary, but if they all get their positions, I think Coonawarra and Oculist are the 2 that I think look like the value runners, and I'm interested in them. They've had good setups, Coonawarra, and they've shown huge improvement from start to start, and that's what I really like about them. Oculus third defence and Coonawarra in front here. They did have their chance, and it's not like it was a superstar race, but I do like what they did to the rest of the field, and Winetails has come out and run well from this race. It's just what they do to the rest of them late here, and I like the way they look to be both building through their gears and look like 1800 won't be an issue. It looks like every time the jockeys get into these horses, they're finding, and Oculus looks really strong late. Coonawarra's got plenty of upside, and looks like the leader, which will be an advantage in a race of this nature, always is. And I'm keen on those two from a value perspective. I'm not liking what Prized Icon's really doing at this stage. I think he's got a few issues, and I'm keen to bet around him up in trip. I think High Mist has come up very short. Nice horse, but I think he's much more a Randwick horse than a Rosehill horse, and if he gets cluttered up and has to find a spot here, you've got Bowman off, which isn't a problem, and then you've got Honey Winder on the inside, who I am a little bit interested in. I thought she made huge improvement first to second up, and she's a bit of a knockout chance from the inside, but really liking the look of Oculus and Coonawarra, and Swear is the one that I'm not sure about. I'm like first up 1400, second up 1800. They're talking Cox Plate. Don't think he was suited by this slow pace here, and I think High Mist probably should have beaten him on this occasion, but it's hard to say that he was really suited by that slow pace either, because the last 50 yards is definitely his strongest as well. So I definitely couldn't have High Mist in front of Square, apart from the fact that High Mist has had the extra run since, which is probably going to help from a fitness perspective. But huge opinion obviously of this horse Swear. He's being aimed for Cox Plate. Second up 1800 is a big task for a 3-year-old, but he does look a special prospect without being confirmed as yet. So going through that race, I think $13, $14 around for Coonawarra Oculus looks like it's good price. $5 Swear's fair enough, and they're the only three I could really back. Honey Wine $13 is not a silly price either. Race 7, Golden Pendant, and this looks a race of tactics. Interestingly, it looks like Tycoon Tara will probably cross Pearls and take it up. You've got the only other horse that really looks to want to be on the speed is Amarata. The rest will be looking to hold a position. Big decision for Tim Clark, what he does on Dixie Blossoms. He's really looks like he's in a world of pain if he goes back to last. You've got a lot of horses here that really want to take a sit in Zambar, Heavens Above, Serene Majesty, Sold for Song, Dead Magic, all drawn inside him, all wanting to go back, and the ones directly inside him are the ones that really want to drop out. So if he's going to want to go back behind them and guarantee that he finds a position, he's going to find himself a long way off the lead. And then he's either got to try and push the button and go forward in front of those 4 or 5 horses and hope for a spot, or I'm not sure what his options are other than that. If he finds a spot, I think he's the horse to beat. I think he should have won last start. I think he's got the best turn of foot in the race, and I think that will come into play here. If he goes back last, I think he's going to struggle, but I'm not saying he's out of the race either, because he could get a bit of a 3-wide cart. Tycoon Taurus had the 3 runs, comes back from that race against the Colts, which is an interesting race. Counter Attack goes to Melbourne and is a short price favourite for a Group 1 in Melbourne. I think it's a Group 1 in Melbourne, and it might be a Group 2, but anyhow, he's hard in the betting there, and that form looks good for this, dropping back to mare's grade. They've gone quick. She sat up on the pace and she was right there. It looks like she'll get it softer run this time, and she should be right in it throughout for mine. Pearls looks dangerous right in the back. His first seal shouldn't get too far back either, and that's the biggest part of it. Heavens Above is a bit of a nightmare horse. She looks like she'd be looking for further ground possibly, but if she doesn't, if she gets the breaks like she did last start, like it was a cracking ride from Ty, but if she gets those breaks, she'll be right there. And sorry, just watching a race at Hawkesbury, to be honest, and at the end of it. But anyhow, back to this. So yeah, the best suited horses to me look like Tycoon Tara and Dixie Blossoms if she finds a position on the pace. First Seal, don't know if she's got queries everywhere if she's suited by a slow-paced first up 1400 metre run, but she'll be right there on class alone. So a good little race, and I think that to me, Tycoon Tara each way around the 850 mark looks huge value, and Dixie Blossoms around the $8 mark. They may even bet better because they're worried about that barrier. It looks a good gamble for a horse with that turn of foot in a race that she's definitely primed to go in. Shannon Stakes, and this is a tough one for me. You've got Counter Attack obviously coming out. More to Gain comes out as well. Cape Crusader, Moral Victory, Entirely Platinum, Cosmic Cube. It looks solid tempo. I think High World's probably the one that comes off the best lead-up run, even though it was a Melbourne run. Draws a spot where he should be midfield and probably looks the strongest, so it's hard to knock him. Cape Crusader ran well first up, looks well weighted, looks like he'll probably push forward and try and lead, and obviously dangerous from that position. Really hard to come into Old North off the first up run, but if he found his old form, he'd be right in this. And I thought Moral Victory won so easily first up that if he had any improvement left in him, or if they'd set him for that race, I'm not sure, but if he had any improvement in him, I was very surprised he's still around the $13, $14 mark off that first up effort. And I thought that he was the other horse I could really entertain. So Moral Victory at the price, High World hardest to beat, but $3.50 is probably fair enough. And Cape Crusader around the $6.50 mark was third pick, with a big query on Old North. The rest just don't look to be going that great, but no surprise from any result here to be brutally honest. The last, and looks like the most open and diabolical race of the day. You'd think there's going to be tempo. There's some horses here that really do like to get out and run. Harry Hotspur, Bull Rush, Dylan's Rojo and Moa should be the ones right up there. Two of them are stablemates, but the horse I sort of wanted to highlight was Earns Oak. If you totally forgive his runs last preparation
back the margin,
and just forget
and
about
Charlie goes up to eyeball the lead. Still on the bit.
Plenty of upside. This is him down the outside.
Clear of the others, headed
by
by
his
Painted
trial
Fire
here.
Tail in the centre. But it's Kandinsky and Charlie Boy still fighting this out. Charlie Boy just
I
giving
like
a crack with
his
the whip
work
to see
here.
if he can
Stable's
overhaul
absolutely
Kandinsky, but he
flying.
can't.
Just look at him
Kandinsky,
getting to the
good
line
sole
under
win
it,
from
no
Charlie
pressure at
Boy.
all.
Third fine
And then he
missed.
backs it up behind a
Leading
horse
by
here in
2.5
Salita.
lengths.
He's leading
As they've got
the trial.
550 Invincible Dame.
Watch the
Stoke jumped pretty
start.
well in the centre, and he's going to race out to the early lead. Salita straight into
Because
second from Bella Galliano
shows that he's
behind
not going to
Invincible
have to
Dame
give them
third. Well,
a huge
leading
start,
out here from Salita the centre, then
even though
Invincible
I think he
Dame
will be off the pace.
and Gustavo at the head of the others. But
The horse in Salita here, who
quickly
I've got a
let
huge
down at the
opinion of,
200 metres, pulled away to the front. From Hearns Oak, Invincible
beats
Dame,
Hearns
Surplus
Oak,
getting to the
but
line.
he does fight back
It's
late,
Salita
giving
in
a
front, giving a
tiniest of
quiet
squeezes.
time. Hearns Oak under a bit of urging
And,
makes it close, but Salita
pretty
wins the trial
he's
from
going
Hearns Oak.
very well into
Invincible
this,
Dame
and he's
third,
around the
followed by
$31 mark early. You've got to forgive Bull Rush that first up run. He's going to get a much softer time of it this time from the 4 gate. They got Harry Hotspur inside him to kick up, and he should be in a challenging position very early. Invincible ran very well first up at every possible. You'd say that probably you're not that excited by the rising trip. Sorry, he's not that got that much improvement in him. He did look revved up, did have the blinkers on. Extensible's not a horse that I'm too excited about, but will be there and will be in the right position. Dingo Mountain's drawn the inside. Who knows where it's going to get to or how much luck it's going to need. I'm interested in Basale first up if they go too hard. He's around the 25 to 1 mark as well with the apprentice on, so he's going to need all the luck in the world, but he is a blowout. One I'd throw in quaddies. And Happy Hannah first up's just a very good horse, fresh, that does look suited if they overdo it. But I think Bull Rush and Hearns Oak are the two main plays for me here, and I'd be throwing a few in the quaddie, going a little bit wide because it does look like there's a possible upset in the race, and Invincible, just because it's going to get the right run, got to go in there too. So a few go in the quaddie in the last. Heading to Caulfield, and I'll jet through these races as well. The first race for the fillies, and it looks solid tempo, 1100 metres. I'm interested to see the comeback of a few horses here. You've got Super Cash, Jalan, Magic Alibi coming down from Sydney, and Grey Street's an interesting horse as well. I thought the run of Magic Alibi was really solid first up, and back to 1100 metres, a big positive, and she'll be fitter for that as well. That Sydney form's very solid, and even though she's coming up against a few good horses here, I think she is pretty well placed. She'll look for some sort of 3 wide cover position most likely, and be hard to beat. I've got a lot of time for Super Cash. I think she's a very good horse, and I'm same for Jalan. So they're the 3 that I think will fight it out. Betting, there's no rocket science involved there. They're all pretty solid in the betting. $3.50 Super Cash, $5.50 Jalan, $6 Magic Alibi, and Grey Street the blowout down in the weights. She's got some good old form, and if she improves off that first up run, $13 looks like the blowout horse. More of a watch race. Could have something small on Magic Alibi. She might even get out from that. They might risk her from the gate and first time in Melbourne, but I don't think the gate's an issue. And I think she's come back a better horse. Race 2 could be the most impossible race I've ever seen in my life. You've got Black Tomahawk, the only horse that looks like he's really going well and suited, but way up in grade and just doesn't win. He probably should have won the other day. Just watching the replays, I'm not sure what was going on there, but you've got the Bandit jumping from, let me just check what distance, going up 880 metres second up. You've got Sign Off going up 800 metres. Our Mandan, who's had a few runs and been pretty flat for mine, the 2 runs, going up 400, Assign 700. And so you've got these 2 horses that are fit in Black Tomahawk and Olanira, who sat up on a fast pace last start month between runs. It's probably the other horse you could entertain. It's around $8, and it's probably the one. I just can't find anything else. Like I can't chime into any of these horses way up in distance, and they don't seem to be going well enough anyhow. I think that's enough time on that race. Race 3, similar for mine. I thought it looks like there's a bunch of speed here. A few horses that are mad on paces. Mahani and Mr. Epic, the 2 most notable. Both like to run along too. Royal Rapture, obviously going well 4 in a row. Draws the inside with the apprentice taking the ride this time. Looks dangerous. I thought the horse that could be suited was Big Memory. I know he's usually ridden hard on the pace, but I'm hoping they'll just sit off it just a little bit here. If he takes a bit of a nap on them and gets a position midfield, I think he's the one who can be strong late. I was intrigued by Nozomi, second up from a decent break after a really long break. He can be fitter. I'd rather one more run into him probably, but I thought he was a bit of value around the $17 mark, at $21 mark with the tab at the moment. He's interesting, and Big Memory around the $8 mark. Not looking to get too involved, not looking to talk about it too much, to be honest, but I think they'll go quick, and you want something that's got a bit of guts to it late. Race 4. Pay Up Bro comes up a dominant favourite. Again, jumping in trip, but at least he's had 3 runs back, 2 1400 metre runs. He looks strong. He looks like he's crying out for this distance, and he looks a deserved favourite looking at the field. I couldn't get too excited about the 2 Weir runners in Craven Image and Kevin's Time. I thought that Rosehill was the danger, and she's third up, jumping in trip sharply. If she had one more run, one more roll, one more 1700, 1800 metre run, I could really entertain her, but it's a big ask for her. Not excited at all by So Willie, and probably Ayers Rock's the one that can improve sharply coming back in grade. and jumping in distance and probably gets control of the speed. So Ayers Rock, Pay Up Bro, Rosehill the knockout. Race 4, 1,000 Guineas Prelude. And a few chances here. I'm not, I thought that Whispering Brook went really well first up, had to work that little bit hard. They didn't go overly hard, but did have to work to cross. Probably ends up in a similar position here where she can cross, and if she gets there quickly, she's probably the horse to beat. I was happy to see the scratching of Sweet Sherry from her point of view, Whispering Brook's point of view. I thought Sweet Sherry was really good behind her. Leote, I thought, was a little bit flattered by being in a small field and being able to use a really sharp little turn of foot to put them away there. And I thought that maybe she was a little bit of unders here, considering she was drawn wide, big field, and going to struggle to lob in such a good little challenging position and use that turn of foot. So I'm not saying she can't win, but I thought she was a little bit flattered last start. Sebring Dream's the one that can improve. If she can hold a little bit more of a positive position, she went well. Diamond Star comes back from Sydney. Not sold on her either. And I thought the main danger to Whispering Brook and a big danger was Samara Dancer. Love that she ran against Colt year first up. She's in the right spot, but she never really shirks the task. I think 1,200 metres down the straight, first up's a great founding for the 1,400 metres. She's drawn really awkwardly, and that's probably her main issue. If she finds a spot, I really like how she keeps finding here, and doesn't look like giving up at all. So 1,400 metres back to Fillies, looks ideal. Whispering Brook, obviously, I'll have a quick look here. The best part of it is what it does, but the problem is that it controls the tempo and kicks away with Merriest. They do just gap the rest, apart from Sweet Sherry running on, and this is Sebring Dream running into 5th. So they look, that form's got to be good for this, and that's what she's going to be trying to do again, is lead, control, and run them off their legs. So no knock on Whispering Brook, 350 probably as short as you'd want to be taking. Samara Dancer $7 looks a better option, and Sebring Dream around the $8 next pick tonight. Caulfield Guineas Prelude in good standings, not going here. Throstle's also out early. Some good horses resuming, so we've got some queries here. Sacred Elixir shows up, no trial. Did the same thing at Caloundra, was a big blower in the market there and really was strong. Came out again and ran well at Doomben before being dominant in the Group 1 over the mile on that testing surface that was down the outside. He did get to the right part there, but he was dominant. Now has to go to Melbourne first up. It's a tough ask, but I'm not saying he's definitely not up to it. Saraceno's an interesting horse. It was the horse that fought off Archives. We'll have a quick look at that there. It was just the last replay I showed with Samara Dancer. Just on the inside here, it and Archives sort of pair off late. Archives never looks comfortable. Much keener to see him around a bend here. And they're both doing very similar to the line. Hardham's back in. Here behind him wasn't me, he's in 4th. So that race is obviously a strong pointer to this race. From those runners, Archives has drawn awkward, but I'd rather see him drawn wide than inside. I don't like him cluttered up. He just needs a bit of luck and some cover. Seabird is interesting. I'm not sure how he's going, but he's got the blinkers applied today, and the opinion's so strong of him and what he did last preparation that he does look one that can improve. And then you have Evacuation coming down from Sydney, drawn wide, rolls forward. Could be anything. Could blow him away. This is his D-Day. This is his acid test. I don't know what more to say. He's definitely revved up. He's definitely ready to go. He'll definitely put some pressure on them, and could easily beat them and beat them easily, or be shown up. I'm not 100% sure which way, but I do think he's a very, very promising horse. So for me, it's evacuation from Archives, and then you've got Saracino that ticks all boxes apart from the 1400. Does look like it won't be an issue, but draws nicely to have the soft run. Scared of Sacred Elixir Fresh and Seabird with the blinkers on. Hardham, the 20-1 shot that looks the knockout, if there is one. Rupert Clark Stakes. Keen on Tavachi and Bonorum here. Bonorum was really dominant the other day off a slow pace. He's had the 2 runs back. I really liked what he did there. If they had gone harder, he looks like he would have won by further. 1400's his go. He draws ideally to do something similar to last start. He's down to 52 kilos. He's just got a lot of upside. Kieran McAvoy's riding very well at the moment. Suits this style of horse. Tavachi's got that fitness edge. He's run well first up down the straight. Again, 52 kilos, drawn soft. If he has any luck, he'll be right there. I'm not potting counter-attacks first up run, but I think it was flattered. He was the one who did sit off the fast pace there and had the soft run through, and I didn't think he was really savaging the line. I'm worried about Under the Loop over 1400. Extravagance, a horse that you just don't know. It's been beaten 20 lengths first up, and it's very hard to understand, what to do with him. He's got the ability, but what will happen probably. Betting will tell the story there. Voodoo Lad was ultra impressive last start. Hasn't been tested at 1400 by we yet, but does look a horse that is going well and has won over 1400 previously, obviously in a lot softer grade than this. But I am concerned about all his form and how it will measure up to these sort of horses. And Thames Court's one for the multiples, just going to sit behind the speed there with no weight, and is capable of running at least a place. So keen on Bonorum. Tavachi, clear second pick, and not potting counter-attack totally, but I really do think he faces a bit tougher task than his price probably suggests, around the $3.50 mark. Really open around, other than those with Voodoo Lad, Extravagant Underwood, all these horses, and Thames Court the one for the multis. I will show Bonorum's replay quickly before we go forward, just to say what I mean with. So here you've got bunch margins. They've gone really slow, which makes it harder for horses to open up and get away from other horses, because they've all conserved so much energy that they can all sort of sprint together. So theoretically, it advantages the horse with the best turn of foot, and disadvantages the one that's sort of the most one-paced and likely to be strongest late. So he gets through his gears. He's in the right spot to get through his gears early enough, but what he does here late, when they're all sort of spreading out, is a really positive sign. And he just looks very strong for mine. High World comes up short in the previous race. Will be a good pointer earlier to how good that form is. Underwood Stakes doesn't look to be any horse that's ideally set up here. You've got the Cleaner, Jacinto Bay, these horses that are going to make it a fairly strong test by the look of it. So you're wanting a horse that's ready for it to run an 1800 metres. I'm thinking the 2 horses that are set up the best, well, I'm going to say 3 horses that are set up the best to run well are He or She, Awesome Brock, who did have the run of its life the other day, and was possibly a little bit flattered, but did the job well. And then maybe Tarzino, who's had the 2 runs back, and I'm forgiving that effort the other day, giving him another go from a wide gate here as the 3 that I'm most interested in. I do think Blackheart Bart's a huge risk at 1800s, especially off a fastish tempo from an awkward gate. He's going to have to do some work, and he's going to have to be strong late to beat these. he or she's the one who probably ticks all the boxes the best. And then you've got Lucia Valentina right down the bottom, who would just win this for mine if she was tuned up. The worry is that she's got plenty left in the tank for races like the Cox Plate and Hong Kong when she goes there, and that they haven't got her wound up for this. If they targeted this, I'd just about be declaring her. I think she's extremely well suited. If the money comes for her tomorrow, probably entertain her more. If she's a little bit soft, I'll be betting around her. So he or she, for me, looks really well placed. $12 looks huge odds from an inside gate. You'll only need a little bit of luck at the top of the turn. I found Craig Williams in a lot of races, which is scaring me, but he does look to be on a lot of the right horses. Awesome Rock around the $7 mark looks fair enough. And then Lucia, maybe if you chop out to make sure you don't lose if you win. She looks too well placed, but she may get well out in the betting tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised either. Lucky last, and another race that didn't look too deep for mine. I was surprised to see Ins and Out go up around the $8 mark. I think it has trimmed up a little bit, but there's still $6.50 around. Looks well placed. Will be right up on the speed. Got some, deep form that really would give this a shake. If you look at her form, we're talking Copernic, Furnaces, Religify, all this good project, all good enough form for this Music Magnate. She's beaten home. Marinostro over more ground, all good horses, all good form, and there's no real depth to most of these runners' form. I think Scheidel can improve, but draws wide and going to have to work. Gets across, got a good chance. Reldask is capable of anything on its day when it's in the mood, and Regis, even though it's probably short enough around the $6 mark, going to need a lot of luck from 16 and going to give a big start. Hellbent's definitely well found around the $4 mark, even though he's good horse, and Mert the Flirt's the other one that looks at the knockout. I'm keen to play Ins and Out and Mert the Flirt are the two I'd be interested to back. I'd probably, if I'm playing at quaddie, I'm throwing in Scheidel, Reldask, Ins and Out, Mert the Flirt, and possibly Regis if the pattern's looking like running on, and I don't think the wide gate will be too big an issue from the 1100 metre start here. It'll probably be an advantage. Which is probably against Mercer the Flirt as well. So, Ins and Out, the one that ticks the boxes, Reldask the swooper, and Mert the Flirt, the one that can win if he gets the luck. So that's the first thoughts for Caulfield and Rosehill. Hopefully something picked up by everyone there, and good luck with the weekend. Thanks, guys.